Breaking news: Conservatives and NDP surge as Liberals' EV gamble crashes with GM plant closure. In a stunning turn of events, the Canadian political landscape is experiencing a dramatic shift as the Liberals' electric vehicle, EV, gamble has faltered, triggering a surge in Conservative and NDP support. The closure of the GM plant in Ingersoll, Ontario, which had been hailed as a major victory for the Trudeau government's green energy plans, is now being blamed for hundreds of layoffs, further damaging the credibility of Liberal leadership and fueling growing dissatisfaction among Canadians. This setback follows months of promises from the Liberals, led by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, to modernize Canada's automotive industry by investing in electric vehicle production. The government's heavy investments, including hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, were meant to position Canada at the forefront of a green revolution, capitalizing on the global shift to electric vehicles. However, the abrupt closure of the GM plant has exposed the reality of these lofty promises, leading to increasing public outcry and a significant shift in political dynamics. The GM plant closure, a fatal blow to the Liberals' EV ambitions. The GM Cami plant in Ingersoll had long been a cornerstone of the Liberals' green energy strategy, with the government touting its investment as a model of Canada's future in the clean energy sector. In fact, when the announcement was made nearly a year ago, Trudeau boasted about the plant's retooling to accommodate electric vehicle production as a key achievement. He called it the first full-scale commercial electric vehicle plant in Canada, claiming it would not only lead to job creation but also demonstrate Canada's commitment to reducing carbon emissions and transitioning to a sustainable economy. However, reality quickly set in. After months of ramping up production to prepare for the plant's new mandate, GM has now announced that it will halt production at the plant, resulting in significant layoffs. Reports indicate that around 500 workers will lose their jobs, and the plant's future remains uncertain. This has turned what was once viewed as a symbol of Canada's green future into a political nightmare for the Trudeau government. This news has sparked outrage across Canada, with many questioning the government's commitment to its own green policies and whether the taxpayer dollars invested in the plant were a waste. The Conservatives, under leader Pierre Poilievre, and the NDP, led by Jagmeet Singh, have seized on the GM plant closure as a potent political weapon to attack the Liberals' record on economic and environmental issues. The political fallout: Conservatives and NDP gaining ground. The immediate consequence of the GM plant shutdown has been a surge in support for the Conservative Party and the NDP. According to a new poll from Juno News, the Liberals are experiencing a significant drop in their polling numbers, with support falling by 4 percentage points. Meanwhile, the Conservatives and NDP have both seen an uptick in support, each gaining 3 percentage points. This shift signals growing dissatisfaction with the current Liberal government's handling of the economy, particularly in the context of their environmental policies. The Conservative Party has been quick to capitalize on the plant closure, using it as an example of the Liberals' failed green energy initiatives. Poilievre has repeatedly criticized the government for pouring taxpayer money into green energy projects without ensuring long-term sustainability or a clear economic return. He argues that the closure of the GM plant is a direct result of the Liberals' failure to create a viable, job-producing green economy, instead of relying on subsidies and corporate handouts. The NDP, under Jagmeet Singh, has also made significant gains in the wake of the GM plant closure. Singh has taken aim at the Liberals for their mismanagement of the green transition and the economic fallout from a closure. Singh's messaging has resonated with younger, environmentally conscious voters who are frustrated by the lack of real progress in Canada's shift to sustainable energy. His criticism of the Liberals' failure to hold corporations accountable for their environmental and economic impacts has also struck a chord with many voters. The increased support for the Conservatives and NDP comes at a critical time for the Liberals, who are already struggling to maintain their lead in the polls. With the federal election on the horizon, this new political reality presents a serious threat to the Liberals' chances of securing another term in office. For many Canadians, the closure of the GM plant symbolizes the broader failure of the Liberals' green energy agenda, a failure that has left workers in the lurch and failed to deliver on promises of a sustainable, thriving economy. The Liberals' disastrous response: more of the same. In the face of this growing backlash, the Liberals have responded predictably with attempts to deflect blame and shift the narrative. Trudeau has attempted to downplay the significance of the GM plant closure, insisting that the government's broader green policies are still on track and that the closure is part of the natural ebb and flow of industrial transitions. However, his efforts to downplay the issue have only exacerbated the perception that the Liberals are out of touch with the struggles of everyday Canadians. Furthermore, the government's refusal to take full responsibility for the failure of their EV initiatives has added fuel to the fire. Trudeau's government has been accused of being more focused on optics and public relations than on delivering real, sustainable solutions for Canadian workers. Critics point to the lack of tangible results from the government's environmental policies and their failure to create lasting job opportunities in the green energy sector. A changing landscape. What's next for Canada? With the Conservatives and NDP gaining momentum, the political landscape in Canada is undergoing a significant transformation. The GM plant closure has become a symbol of the broader issues facing the country under Liberal rule: economic stagnation, mismanagement of environmental policies, and a failure to deliver on key promises. For the Conservatives, this presents an opportunity to solidify their position as the party of fiscal responsibility and economic growth. Poilievre's continued criticism of the Liberals' economic record and their failed green energy initiatives has struck a chord with voters, particularly those concerned about the cost of living and job security. The GM plant closure has given him a powerful talking point in his campaign to challenge the Liberal government's competence. For the NDP, this represents a chance to position themselves as the true champions of workers and the environment. Singh's ability to highlight the flaws in the Liberal approach to green energy, while also advocating for policies that benefit working-class Canadians, has made him a strong contender in key urban areas. However, the real question now is whether the Liberals can recover from this blow. The GM plant closure is a major setback for the Trudeau government, and their handling of the situation will likely determine whether they can retain the support of key voter demographics in the coming months. With the rise of both the Conservatives and the NDP, the upcoming federal election is shaping up to be one of the most contentious and unpredictable in recent memory. As Canadians head to the polls, they will be faced with a clear choice between the status quo under the Liberals and a potential change in direction with the Conservatives or the NDP. The closure of the GM plant, the growing dissatisfaction with the Liberal government's economic and environmental record, and the increasing support for opposition parties are all key factors that will influence the outcome of this election. For the Trudeau government, the clock is ticking, and their ability to address these issues will determine their political future.